what was the religion, the religious beliefs, the gods that the Vikings believed that we've mentioned a little bit of, Thor and Odin? How did they see this world and the universe?
So the Viking gods are I mean, they've been sanitized, but they're quite terrifying. But at their basic conception of the universe is an eternal struggle between chaos and order, which chaos will eventually win. So I think the best view of cosmology is of concentric circles, with Utgard is the outer realm, and that's where the chaos is. And that's where the frost giants are, all the monsters that seek to destroy. The gods represent order and stability, and the monsters represent chaos. And it's an eternal war between the two of them. So there are different categories of gods depending on which circle you come from. The gods don't all like each other. They're not. Sometimes they engage in wars. Some of the most famous gods, the Norse gods, Loki or Freya, come from outside the Aesir, the main gods. So it was kind of a fluid thing.
It's more a way to understand the world.
I think so. Yeah, the thunder is Thor fighting the ice giants, and that's what that is.
Going to Perplexity. Vikings followed a polytheistic, ritual-heavy religion centered on a pantheon of gods and spirits with no single holy book or unified church, and practices varied a lot by region and family. And so the major gods was Odin and Thor and Freya. Odin his domain was war, kingship, wisdom, death. Thor was protection, thunder, fertility. Freya was love, magic, battle dead. Typical worshippers for Odin were chieftains and elite warriors and poets. Typical worshippers for Thor were farmers and, quote, ordinary people. And typical worshippers of Freya were women, magic practitioners, and lovers.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard it. I think you can break it down saying like Odin was the elite. He's kind of more aristocratic, right?
Yes.
He's the god of poetry. You need to read, etc. Only the elite would know how to do that. A farmer wouldn't really care about that. When Thor is a more earthy god,
Mm-hmm.
You want the waves to be less. Pray to Thor. I find Odin, I think, most disturbing. He's the god of madness and the god of poetry, which I guess those are related.
Yeah.
But in battle, I mean, the Berserkers, probably the most famous type of Viking warriors, were considered to be Odin's chosen warriors. They would show no pain, and they would just run at the enemy and attack with their nails and their teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they could have their arms hacked off, they would still keep going. Like they would attack other Vikings. They were berserk. That's where we get the word from.
What do we understand the mindset that leads to that? I mean, it wasn't religious in nature. There's not this kind of ideology. It's just a way of life, and then prized honor and intensity in battle.
Yeah, I mean, one of Odin's names is the Raven Feeder. I mean, by creating corpses which ravens feed on, you're doing the work of Odin. And the Viking view of the afterlife was unique. There weren't really punishments, not really, for doing bad things, unless you did something really bad. Then you ended up as basically an evil spirit haunting your grave. But if you were brave, then you got taken to the house of the dead, which is Valhalla, and you were resurrected. Every day you would fight, and whatever wounds you got would be magically healed that night. And then the next morning you'd get up and do it again. So you're essentially practicing for Ragnarok, the final battle, which you would lose. So I'm not sure. It's rather pessimistic.
The battle is it sounds like losing is not a thing. The battle itself is what matters. So Valhalla is a place where you fight a battle every day.
Every day.
Unlimited food. There's like a boar or whatever. There's unlimited wine.
Yep.
And you can die as much as you want. You're reborn again. And this is the idea of the highest. I guess if there's such a thing as heaven in this kinds of construction of the universe, this is heaven. This is the highest form. This is the highest place you can go to is Valhalla.
Yeah.
Is fight every day, eat as much as you want, drink as much as you want, die, and are reborn the next day.
Yeah.
And it's for forever, preparing yourself for the final battle of Ragnarok. So this is the end of the world. This is the cataclysm.
That's right.
Yeah.
Odin's going to die. Thor will die. He'll get killed by one of Loki's children, the Midgard serpent. Odin will be devoured by a wolf. The sun and moon, which are being chased by monsters, by giants, will be caught and swallowed by the giants, plunging the world into eternal darkness. Essentially, all the gods will die, and darkness and chaos will then ensue. And then at the very end, this is mostly from a guy named Snorri Sturluson, who was living right at the end of the Viking Age and writing this. And he was, I believe, a Christian. So I think we're fusing things here.
Yeah.
So then there would be a new earth and a new heaven and a new God who's all powerful.
Yeah, if you think of religion as a kind of technology, a social technology that stabilizes or helps guide the evolution of a society, it's interesting to see what the Vikings came up with. And you ever think from a history, the grand view of history, how effective these different technologies of religion have been?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly. I'm thinking of the Viking rituals. Hospitality is very important in a northern climate where, food is scarce, winters are long and harsh, and if you don't share what your hearth with, someone knocking on your door, then someone else might not share it with you, and you could be facing death. So in this case, hospitality becomes a core belief. And, the idea was that Odin would travel incognito, knocking on people's doors, and he would remember if you let him in or not. And if you were hospitable, he would bless you. And if you were unhospitable, he would murder you. And, I think these rituals are obviously intended for how do we survive this winter?
How do we effectively spread the message that hospitality is pretty good thing and is carrot and the stick of religion?
Yeah.
If you do a good thing, you'll be rewarded. If you do a bad thing, you'll be punished. And then different religions plays in different ways of communicating that.
Yeah. I mean, I think also religion gives you a worldview, right? It gives you a morality. And these are core parts of society.
And the beautiful thing about religion is it interplays with human nature and it guides humans. But then, of course, human nature and humans project themselves onto the religion. Sometimes they use that religion. It's to accomplish goals in a pragmatic sense, in a political sense, in a geopolitical sense, in a military sense, in a social sense. And so there's that dance of how religion invigorates and guides the peoples, and then how the peoples use the religion to guide the direction of the world.
Yeah.
And that's certainly the history of Christianity has a big role to play in the history of Europe, the history of the Byzantine Empire, and that part of the world. And it was an incredibly effective religion. Once Constantine converted, it spread extremely quickly, relatively speaking, across a couple of centuries. Just to linger on the Viking views of the world and the afterlife. So we mentioned Valhalla. There's the Norns, which are the three spirits that represent the past, the present, and the necessity. They spin the fates of all men and gods at the roots of Yggdrasil.
Yeah, Yggdrasil.
Yeah. So there's a notion of like determinism and fate to the Viking life. And there's Valhalla, there's Hell, Niflheim.
Yeah.
This was the destination for the vast majority of people. So if you don't make it to Valhalla, this is where you go. Unless you're a real bad person, then there's some punishment for the truly wicked.
And we should point out that Hel, spelled with one L, was a daughter of Loki, and was not the same as the
Hell with the two L's.
Hell with the two L's. Very different.
It's more like purgatory type of situation.
Yeah. So it's like the house of the dead, the house of the underworld.
A colorless twilight, not necessarily a place of punishment, but simply the inevitable end for most, unless You end up in Valhalla, which means you were a great warrior dying in battle.
It reminds me of the Greek view of the afterlife, right? Where you essentially get amnesia and forget who you are unless someone makes a sacrifice and says your name, and only then you'll remember it. So your destiny is ultimately to just become gray and fade away. So you might as well be brave. You might as well run at that spear.
So that was the engine of their the warrior culture that was core to their society.
I think probably.